What's going on, guys? Today I'm back with another hat format replay review for you guys. If you're interested in sending in your hat format replays, you can go down to the video description and find all the information on how to go about sending those in. Anyways, the matchup I have for you today, we have Odyssey Icaros, who is going to be on hat, versus Birdman Omega, who is also going to be on hat. It's been a little while since I showed off a mirror match of any sort on the channel. I know usually people don't really enjoy the mirror matches as much, but I think it is important to show off from time to time, and I'm told this was a pretty wild back and forth, so I'm really looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Here, it looks like Birdman Omega is going to win the rock, paper, scissors and get to start this one out. Opening hands, we see Sanctum Ignition, Call the Haunted, Moral Attack, and Sanctum. And on the other side, we see Sanctum, Dionea, Moral Attack, Call the Haunted, and Mermail. So definitely a mirror match, very similar hands in a lot of ways. And here, Birdman will get a draw for turn, getting another copy of Sanctum. So both players having two copies of Sanctum, you know this is going to be a wild match. Here, Birdman's going to start their turn by summoning Mermail and getting a copy of Trap Nightmare before going and setting 5 back row over to Odyssey Icaros, who gets a copy of Double Cyclone, which is definitely going to be an important card in this matchup. And here it looks like we are going to see just a set 4. So obviously setting 4 for the case that Ignition is here. So Icaros is probably wanting to use this Ignition to pop one of Birdman's back row, whereas if they had set another back row, they'd only be able to pop their own here. And in end phase, though, we are going to see Birdman activate their copy of Sanctum here, summoning a copy of Beagle Tack, and then Beagle Tack using its effect, popping this copy of Moral Attack can then summon itself, and then from here we are going to see Birdman draw for turn, getting a copy of Moral Attack, which isn't the greatest draw here though. And here it looks like in draw phase we're going to see Icaros activating that copy of Ignition, going after, is it in, let me see if this is in end phase or draw phase. It definitely cannot be an end phase because it was set. But anyways, here we are going to see the Ignition popping that copy of Sanctum, which is a bit rough here. And we're going to see Icaros go and set a copy of Beagle Tack, and then the copy of Sanctum is going to be able to pop a card, popping the copy of Double Cyclone, and then the Double Cyclone is going to be chain popping the Beagle Tack and another one of Birdman's back row. Let's see, hitting the copy of Trap Nightmare, which is a great card to be hitting here. So now when Icaros goes and summons this copy of Beagle Tack can trigger, popping the copy of Moral Attack can then summon itself out, using its effect and popping Birdman's copy of Moral Attack. So a crazy back and forth already, and it's already only been like one full turn cycle, so very wild to see here. And, you know, hitting that copy of Trap Nightmare was really the perfect hit here. The other card being a Call the Haunted. So, you know, definitely I feel Birdman is in a very solid position here. Though, you know, all of that without Icaros even using their copy of Sanctum. Like, we could definitely see Birdman go and use the Call the Haunted to bring out this copy of Moral Attack, but it's their turn, so this won't trigger. The other option they could have is technically just normal summoning over the Mermail and making a rank 5. There's so many different options, so we will have to see what they go for, and they are going to actually go for the tribute summon. And here it looks like on summon, Icaros is going to activate their copy of Sanctum, summoning a Moral Attack, and then pop the copy of Moral Attack. And now we do see the Call of the Haunted. So, you know, Birdman was not going to end their turn without making some form of rank 5 here. And here going for a copy of Tiras. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting play too, because had they gone for something like Pleiades, I guess they're just trying to clear these monsters on board, because when this attacks, it'll destroy one of them, and then its effect will destroy another, leaving Icaros with only one monster. Had they gone for Pleiades, it would leave them with more, because they'd be able to, say, run over one. They could use the effect and like bounce one, but you don't really want to be giving back the artifacts in some cases, especially given, you know, how this game's playing out, and Icaros does have more cards in hand. They could, if they want to go like Pleiades and bounce their Call the Haunted, but then that's at risk for more Double Cyclones or Ignitions or something like that. So I think going for Tiras isn't a bad play at all here. And here we are going to see them go to battle phase, running over a Moral Attack, using the effect and popping the other Moral Attack. Then Tiras is going to have to detach a material, detaching a copy of Moral Attack before passing over to Icaros, who gets another copy of Sanctum. So all of these Sanctums are here, you know, and it looks like Icaros isn't even going to do anything. They're just going to pass it back to Birdman and make them use more resources before committing more. Though, how many artifacts have they gone through? So they've gone through the Beagle Tack and 2 copies of Moral Tack. So at bare, I would assume that they have at least 1 more Moral Tack, maybe another Beagle Tack. It's kind of hard to say because some builds obviously aren't playing 2 copies of Beagle Tack. I'm not sure if Icaros is on Scythe either. But anyways, here we do see Birdman got a copy of Call the Haunted. They're going to normal summon the Dionea, and then Dionea is going to be able to bring back the Mermelio. Mermelio's mandatory trigger, but it's not going to pop anything there. And then here we will see Birdman overlay into a copy of Black Ship of Corn, using the effect and sending the copy of Beagle Tack and inflicting 1,000 damage before going to battle phase and attacking in with the Tiras. Going main phase 2, it is going to have to lose its other material, so now it is able to be destroyed by card effects. So maybe that's also what Icaros was waiting on. And here we are going to see Birdman set that Call the Haunted over to Icaros, who now gets a copy of Breakthrough Skill, which is a great card to draw, setting 4, and over to Birdman, who gets another copy of Sanctum. So it is just a mess of Sanctums here. We are going to see Icaros activate that Call the Haunted, bringing back the Moral Tack. Moral Tack can pop the copy of Tiras. After that, we are going to see the Sanctum activated in battle phase or end of battle phase, summoning another Moral Tack. Moral Tack is then going to pop the copy of Black Ship of Corn. And so now, yeah, we do see that there are 3 Moral Tack and 1 Beagle Tack right now. And how many? Let me see. 1, 2, and they have another Sanctum there. And so if anything, Birdman should have probably 1 more copy of Moral Tack in deck as well at bare minimum. Here we are going to see, still in battle phase, the Call the Haunted, bringing back the copy of Tiras, and then Tiras can run over one of the Moral Tacks there. And then in main phase 2, setting that copy of Sanctum back over to Icaros, who gets a copy of Trap Trick Triple Nightmare. And we are going to see a Sanctum activation. Is this? Oh, well, they already activated one on Birdman's turn, so this is on their own turn. So just going for a copy of Beagle Tack. So we do see that Icaros is on 2 copies of Beagle Tack, and people always forget Sanctum can be activated on your own turn, but it is going to make so you do skip your battle phase. So that is something to note, as well as because the artifact is summoned on your own turn, it's not going to trigger its effect here. But anyways, here going and summoning a copy of Beagle Tack, and from here we will see Birdman go and use their own Sanctum, summoning their last copy of Moral Tack. Moral Tack is going to try to pop something, but that is going to be met with that copy of Breakthrough Skill. So very solid back and forth. Here we do see Icaros go and summon a copy of Pleiades, using the effect and bouncing their own Call the Haunted, setting 2, and back over to Birdman, who gets their own copy of Trap Trick Triple Nightmare. So really just all the same cards on the table, basically. We see Birdman go to battle phase, trying to attack over Pleiades. Pleiades is going to chain the effect, bouncing the Tiras. And from here, we see Birdman go and set that copy of Trap Trick Triple Nightmare before passing turn. But in end phase, Icaros is going to use the Call the Haunted, bringing back the Moral Tack popping Birdman's Moral Tack. Here, Icaros gets a copy of Duality, goes to battle phase, swings in with Moral Tack, swings in with Pleiades, and main phase 2, Duality is activated, revealing double Cyclone, Bottomless, and Ignition, taking the copy of Bottomless here, shuffling the others back, setting the Bottomless back over to Birdman, who gets a copy of Firehand. So now the hands come in. We've seen all the artifacts of this game, setting that copy of Firehand here. Icaros gets their own copy of Dionea, and just switching everything to defense, so playing it very cautiously here, given they do know this is a mirror match at this point. Here we do see Birdman draw a copy of Ignition, which might be dead, honestly, for them. They're just going to set it here. Icaros draws for turn, getting a copy of Double Cyclone, sets it back over to Birdman, who gets another Ignition. Again, it might be dead, and if it is, I don't know why they're choosing to set these here, because it's just going to clog up their back row, if anything. So, again, it might be telegraphing that Birdman has at least 1 more artifact in deck, but even if not, there's not really a reason to be setting both in this instant here. And here we are going to see Icaros go and pop the Call the Haunted and pop the new set, which is going to pop the Ignition. So I actually take back what I said, because that actually kind of worked out for Birdman here, because now Ignition is going to skip Odyssey Icaros's next battle phase. And so from here, yep, they're just triggering it. Icaros draws for turn, getting a copy of Torrential, which they are going to set, skipping their battle phase over to Birdman, who gets their own double Cyclone now. So, okay, now we are moving ahead here. Icaros gets a copy of Ice Hand, so now they finally have their own hands live, but they are choosing to set it back over to Birdman, who gets a Bottomless, back over to Icaros, who gets a copy of Card Car. So maybe they're on kind of the chat deck or whatever you want to call it, normal summoning the Card Car using the effect and drawing into an Ice Hand and Warning, passing it back over to Birdman, who gets a copy of Max C, passing it back over to Icaros, who gets a copy of Ignition here, summoning the copy of Ice Hand. It looks like Icaros has had enough of the slow gameplay. They are going to try to be aggressive here, flipping up the other Ice Hand, overlaying into a copy of Dweller, and here switching the Pleiades to attack, switching the Moral Tack to attack, setting the copy of Warning, and maybe it looked like they were going to go into battle phase, but decided maybe they should play around Trap Hole Nightmare or something, which was a, very solid option given, Birdman does have the Trap Hole Nightmare, and I believe they knew it too. Oh no, I guess they had already used one. So maybe Icaros did not know of that copy of Trap Hole Nightmare there, but, giving Birdman the initiative that if they want to be aggressive, now might be their chance as well. Here they'd get a copy of Mermail, which they are just going to set over to Icaros, who gets a copy of Dark Hole, and we are going to see Dweller activated now, going to battle phase, Moral Tack over the Firehand, Dweller over the Mermail, and then Pleiades in. So passing turn there, here Birdman gets a copy of Dionea, which is great, normal summoning the Dionea, but that is going to be met with the Warning. So, a wild back and forth, both seeing 3 copies of Sanctum and just all the artifact cards, but Icaros was able to walk with that one. So moving on into a game number 2, Birdman will get to start this one out again. Opening hands, we see Breakthrough Skill, Debunk Dionea, Torrential, Trap Hole Nightmare. So no Sanctumens at all, okay? And on the other side, we see Birdman having at least a copy of Sanctum, actually having 2 copies of Sanctum, Debunk, Torrential, and Ice Hand. So again, very, very similar hands. Obviously, it's a mirror match, so it's expected, but very similar. And here we are going to see Birdman get a copy of DD Crow, setting the Ice Hand and setting 4 back row over to Icaros, who gets a copy of Beagle Tack, setting 4 back row of their own, no monsters, and passing it over to Birdman, who now gets a copy of Firehand, flipping up the Ice Hand and starting to be aggressive, swinging in for 14, before passing it over to Icaros, who gets a copy of Trap Hole Nightmare. Here we are going to see a Dionea summoned, maybe just trying to, sort of bait this Ice Hand to attack in, so then the Debunk will be live. But here in end phase, we are going to see Birdman activate their copy of Sanctum, summoning a copy of Moral Tack, and Moral Tack is going to try to pop the copy of Dionea, but we are going to see the Torrential chained. So here, trying to just kind of go through things. And so the reason they did that is because the Moral Tack on summon is going to use its effect, which is going to be Chain Link 1, and then the Torrential blows up the monsters, destroying Ice Hand as a Chain Link 2. So even though it is destroyed, the last thing to happen is going to be that Moral Tack trying to activate there. So that is going to make it miss timing there. And here we will see the Firehand set from Birdman back over to Icaros, who is going to get a duality, activating it, revealing Moral Tack, Ignition, and Bottomless, taking that copy of Ignition. So now they do have Ignition Beagle Tack live if need be, and we are going to see the Beagle Tack set, maybe just bluffing again that is the Ignition. These hat mirror match or artifact trap tricks mirror matches in general usually are full of mind games, so kind of neat to see that. Here we see Birdman get a copy of Debunk. That's their second copy, right? It is their second copy, flipping up the Firehand, going to battle phase, attacking in, and here it looks like just setting that Debunk in main phase 2 before passing it over to Icaros, who gets a copy of Double Cyclone. So setting the Ignition now, back over to Birdman, who gets a copy of Trap Hole Nightmare, goes to battle phase, again just poking away with the hand. Main phase 2 setting that copy of Trap Hole Nightmare. In end phase, we are going to see Ignition popping the Beagle Tack, setting a copy of Moral Tack. The Beagle Tack will then be summoned, trying to be summoned, but that is going to be met with the Debunk. So banishing the copy of Beagle Tack, and then over to Icaros, who now gets a copy of Debunk. So that, I believe, is their second copy as well. And from there, we are going to see the double Cyclone set and back over to Birdman, who gets a copy of Warning, going to battle phase, attacking in, but it looks like in battle phase, we're going to see the double Cyclone going after one of Birdman's back row, which is the copy of Debunk. And since Icaros did go and hit their Mortal Attack, that is strong, but we do know that Birdman has that copy of DD Crow, as well as they did have that, well, I guess they had Trap Hole Nightmare as well, but choosing to Crow it, not even giving Icaros the chance to get a monster on board, setting the copy of Warning and over to Icaros, who gets a Dionea. And here they're going to summon the Dionea, using the effect to bring out the other copy of Dionea in Graveyard. Max C is chained to that, so Birdman will get a draw, getting a copy of Bottomless. And did they not have any trap holes engraved? They did not. So just going to battle phase and attacking into the Fire Hand. And from there, Fire Hand's going to attempt to activate, but we will see the Debunk activated on that. So banishing the Fire Hand and stopping it from floating, setting the copy of Trap Hole Nightmare and Debunk. And in end phase, Birdman is going to activate their copy of Sanctum, summoning Mortal Attack. Mortal Attack is going to trigger, and that is going to be met with Trap Hole Nightmare. So we are now back over to Birdman, who drew a copy of Call of the Haunted. This has definitely been a wild game. Here we are going to see Birdman set 2, Icaros draws for turn, getting a copy of Call of the Haunted, switching Dionea to attack and attacking in, but we are going to see the Call of the Haunted bringing back a copy of Mortal Attack. Mortal Attack is going to trigger, which is going to be met with Icaros' copy of Trap Hole Nightmare. But on the summon and activation of the Trap Hole Nightmare, we will then see a Torrential Tribute. So just kind of clearing the board regardless. And after that, we will see Call the Haunted set before passing it over to Birdman, who got another Call the Haunted of their own. So last game, it was all about Sanctum. This game, it is all about Debunk and Call the Haunteds and stuff. We are going to see Call the Haunted activated in the end phase of Birdman's turn, but Birdman does have a lot more life points, so they are going to flip that copy of Warning. And here we will see Icaros draw for turn, getting a copy of Ice Hand, so a great draw, something that definitely can apply some good pressure here. So summoning it, swinging in over to Birdman, who gets another copy of Debunk. So how many copies of Debunk have they seen now? 1, 2, so that is the third copy. And here we do see Icaros getting a copy of Ignition, and just double checking on how many artifacts they've seen. Has it really only been, or well, I guess 2 have been banished already, so they definitely have a live Ignition here, which they are going to go to battle phase, attacking in. Call the Haunted is going to be activated, but you know, Icaros does have that Ignition they just drew, so popping the Call the Haunted and setting a copy of Mortal Attack. The Ice Hand still gets in. Now Birdman gets a copy of their own Ice Hand, setting it over to Icaros, who gets a Warning, attacking in with Ice Hand, taking a little damage because Ice Hand does have more defense than attack, going and just passing, so not even setting the Warning, but I guess looking at their life, there isn't a reason to. They can't even activate it here. And here we do see Birdman getting a copy of Max C, switching the Ice Hand to attack and attacking in, crashing into the Ice Hands. And here the Ice Hand is going to trigger, going after the Breakthrough skill, and Icaros' Ice Hand is going to go after the Debunk. Debunk is going to be activated, and Icaros is just going to scoop it up there. And so moving on into a game number 3, and also for anyone wondering, if 2 hands do crash into each other, it's not going to make one miss timing because they both technically trigger at the same time. It's more so just a turn player has priority on activating theirs first. It's not a situation of missing timing in that exact situation. Anyways, Icaros is going to get to start this one out. Opening hands, we see Sanctum, Beagle Attack, Mind Control, Mermail, and Mortal Attack. And on the other side, we see Sanctum, Debunk, Mind Control. So a wild hand here from Birdman. Honestly, this match has been crazy. And here Icaros does get a draw for turn, getting a copy of Call the Haunted, starting the turn by normal summoning Mermail and grabbing a Bottomless before setting just one back row, setting the copy of Sanctum. So playing it very cautiously and slow, which a lot of times can be good in these sort of matchups, especially when you know your opponent has hands, and sometimes that can just chew through the back row, as well as giving more fuel for ignitions and stuff like that. But anyways, here Birdman gets a copy of Trap Hole Nightmare for the draw, and they go in set 5, so doing kind of the opposite play there from Icaros, who draws into a Dionea for turn, which is great given they have this Mermail going to battle phase and attacking in, which is going to force out a Sanctum, summoning a copy of Mortal Attack popping the Mermail, main phase 2 Dionea Dionea is going to summon, then using the effect, bringing out the Mermail. Mermail is then going to trigger and going after a copy of Debunk, going and then overlaying into a copy of 101 and just passing. So choosing not to use the effect, definitely playing around Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare, as well as they can't even crash because the 101 will just survive here. Here Birdman gets, was that a third copy of Debunk? There's one in grave and one on field and one in hand. So alrighty there, all the debunks setting it over to Icaros, who gets a duality. Here we are going to see 101 now activate its effect since it is out of Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare range, taking the copy of Moral Attack and swinging in. Main phase 2 dualities activated, revealing Double Cyclone, Soul Charge, and Breakthrough skill, taking the copy of Double Cyclone. So Icaros slowly is, creeping ahead, playing it slow, but now they are going to start setting back row, setting 3 back row over to Birdman, who gets a duality, activating it, revealing Call the Haunted, Dionea, and a copy of Call the Haunted, taking the copy of Dionea and putting the others back here. And what was their grave again? Okay, so they do not have a copy of Mermail, but here they're just probably wanting to take this in case they need a body in a lot of cases. Anyways, here we do see Icaros draw for turn, and they got another copy of Double Cyclone, so they're really going to be able to chew through this back row if need be, but going to battle phase, attacking in before setting a back row over to Birdman, who gets a DD Crow, and here we are going to see them just defensively setting that copy of Dionea before passing it over to Icaros, who is going to get a Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare, going to battle phase, attacking over the Dionea, and at that rate, maybe they have the read that Birdman really isn't seeing anything at this point. Here they get a copy of Ice Hand, so maybe kind of the opposite here. Back over to Icaros, who gets a copy of Warning, goes to battle phase, attacks over the Ice Hand. Ice Hand is then going to activate, going after the copy of Sanctum, summoning a Fire Hand, and now we will see the Sanctum activate, and it looks like a little bit of connection issues. The Sanctum is going to pop one of the copies of Debunk, and so that's definitely a strong thing to hit there, setting the copy of Warning before passing it over to Birdman, who's going to set another Fire Hand, which they drew for turn. Here, Icaros gets a Ice Hand, goes battle phase, attacks over the Fire Hand, which is going to try to pop the 101. 101 can protect itself, therefore the hand will not be able to float. So back over to Birdman, who now gets a copy of Max C. And here we're going to see Icaros fire off the Double Cyclone right away, going after... and it looks like it looks like they're going after the Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare, so getting very lucky on these Double Cyclones, hitting those, and then chaining the other Double Cyclone, trying to pop the other Double Cyclone that was previously activated, and going after this copy of Sanctum, which is going to be chained here, summoning a copy of Moral Attack. So now we will have a bit more of a chain here. We're going to have the Beagle Attack activating, and we will have the Moral Attack activating, as well as the Sanctum. And here it also looks like the DD Crow is actually going to banish the copy of Beagle Attack. Moral Attack pops the 101. And then, is that what did they pop with the Sanctum, or was that, wait, let me think what just happened here. So the Sanctum goes and popped, maybe it was the Sanctum what popped the Beagle Attack. Either way, and there was a big chain there. And here we are going to see Icaros. I believe they got the bottomless there for turn. Normal summons Ice Hand, uses Mind Control, and takes the set. And now Birdman is going to chain the Max C. And flipping up the Fire Hand, Icaros says, you can have a draw, going for a copy of 101, and Birdman gets a copy of Moral Attack. So not really the card they want to be drawing in this situation either. From here, it looks like, going for that 101 and just attacking into the Moral Attack, detaching a material to keep it around before setting 3 back row over to Birdman, who now gets a copy of Mermail, setting that copy of Mind Control and Moral Attack back over to Icaros, who gets a copy of Card D. They're going to attack over the Mermail before passing turn. Here, Birdman gets a copy of Call the Haunted, which they are going to set, which isn't bad. Getting another Card D, going to battle phase, Call the Haunted is going to be activated, summoning a copy of Moral Attack. Moral Attack can trigger, but that is going to be met with the Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare, so 101 is still going to attack in. Birdman is definitely getting low here, drawing a copy of Breakthrough skill, and Icaros is able to take this one, still having some really good back row. Obviously, Birdman saw way too many debunks and stuff, which usually would be good, but Icaros kind of saw the other side of the deck, the Double Cyclones, and those type of cards. And yeah, they still had a copy of Sanctum, which they should still have targets, right? Yeah, because there's only the one moral tag there. Yeah, there was definitely a lot more that Icaros had going for them there. And what a crazy mirror match, or sort of mirror match, given it looks like Icaros was on Cards, but basically the same deck. And anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it, comment any questions or videos you want to see in the future, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified anytime I put a new video out, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to go down to the video description to find out how you can send in your hat format replays, whether you won or lost. If you thought the deck you or your opponent played was pretty cool, feel free to send it in. I'm sure a lot of people would love to see it. But anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video.